Hello there, Phantom Freak here, aka Moist Masterflex. This is 5 tips to getting your music signed onto record labels. So some of you may know me already, some of you don't. For those of you that don't know me, I am Phantom Freak. I am a DJ, producer, label owner, A&R, previously an A&R for another house label, House of Hustle. Now I do A&R and I own my own label, Thick Weakness Records, where we do all sorts of cool stuff. Lots of house, lots of UKG, lots of bass house, a little bit of drum and bass thrown in there. It's actually pretty rare to get drum and bass, but we do drum and bass, and a little bit of breaks, because that's the stuff that I write and that's the stuff that I enjoy playing out, so that's a lot of the stuff that I sign. But the bottom line here is that I know a thing or two about getting music signed. I have upwards of almost 100 tracks released through at least probably a dozen or more different labels. I want to say I haven't even kept count, but it's all over the place. I know a thing or two about signing music to labels, and from both the perspectives, both from a producer's perspective as well as an A&R and owner perspective. So I kind of have this multi-faceted perspective on the best way, in my opinion, to get your music signed. Now, this question is actually posed to me a lot because I do a live feedback stream on Twitch where, a lot of up-and-coming producers will send me music, and usually we'll just have a good time. I'll listen to people's tunes. I'll give them feedback on, anything from just like structure to mixing to, all sorts of things. And then in the in-between times, going in between tracks, usually, some of these guys will send me, just questions to ask. Just because they understand, I have a different perspective, being both a label owner and producer who's been doing this for quite a while. So this is one of the, common questions I get asked is, what's the best way to submit your music to labels? So these are my five tips to get your music signed to record labels. Tip number 1 is make sure that you submit a fully complete track. Now, this may sound like common sense to submit a fully complete track, but it's not as much common sense as you would think. And this is not to say that it needs to be a completely professionally mastered track. It just has to be done. Make sure it's not a work in progress track. Make sure it's completely structured out, completely done. And the best barometer for this, I would say, is if you can play this song out live or like on the radio or in the car or to like one of your friends and it sounds, like a complete track, then you're on your way. So make sure you send a completely finished track. Tip number 2, do your research. And what I mean by do your research is listen to a lot of the other music that the particular label you're submitting to putting out, and make sure that the music that you're submitting to them kind of falls within the same realm or same region of the stuff that they're releasing. So this is obviously another one that's kind of common sense. You don't want to send house music to like a dubstep label. You don't want to send drum and bass to a techno label. So yeah, make sure that you're submitting music that kind of falls within the same, so obviously same genre, but also, the same sort of vibe that they go for. Along with doing your research, make sure you also look for the best way to submit to this particular label that you're looking to submit music to. Everybody does it differently. Some labels have a submission email, which they usually post on, any sort of social media or their website. Some labels have a specific submission portal, some on their websites or elsewhere. Some labels use Google Forms, some labels use, all sorts of different things, but make sure you track down and look for the best way to submit demos to them. You might even get lucky if you can get like a direct contact, especially for a lot of the bigger labels. If you can get the direct contact to their A&R or their owner, that'll make things a lot easier. I do not recommend you just cold reaching out to these people. It might seem a little bit rude and forward to do that. I would, if possible, meet these people in person and then kind of ask them nicely, hey, Do you mind if I get your email, if I can send you demos, etc., etc.? You know, that way it's more personable, and you're not just shooting in the dark and, you know, kind of being, in a sense, a little bit rude. Tip number 3, submit your demos with private SoundCloud links. Now, this one's more of a personal preference for me. I've sent and I've received, you know, hundreds of demos by now. And in my personal experience, you know, private SoundCloud is always the best. It's the easiest to look at, very nice waveforms, really easy to click through, really good user interface. I know, you know, some people might have different ways of submitting their demos. Some people use Dropbox, some people use Box, some people use Google Drive. But in my personal experience, private SoundCloud is always the best. To me, there's like a hierarchy, like private SoundCloud, Dropbox, and then Google Drive. Honestly, Google Drive is just the worst. Just don't do it. Tip number 4, if you're submitting multiple demos to a label, make sure you submit as a playlist and not as multiple links. And this one kind of falls back to the last one too. This is why SoundCloud is very handy. You can make a playlist very easily of multiple demos. And it's really easy to click through. You get, you know, pictures, you get, you know, the waveforms. It's very nice, very easily organized. When you do that through like Dropbox or Google Drive, it tends to get a little bit hairy and messy and disorganized. So yeah, if you're gonna submit multiple demos to a label, make sure it's in a private SoundCloud playlist. This is something I personally do too, because I write a lot of music. So I tend to send upwards of like anywhere from like 3 to, you know, even like 8 tracks to any given label. So they have multiple options to kind of listen through, and they can decide for themselves, you know, whether one of the, you know, 3 or one of the 8 songs really works for them. And it's a lot easier for them to click through private SoundCloud. And this is also from my personal experience too. Usually if I request demos from somebody, or somebody kind of just blindly sends me demos, I absolutely prefer private SoundCloud playlists, or private SoundCloud, just, you know, a direct link if it's just one track. Tip number 5, keep your message short, sweet, and to the point. So this is pretty much applicable in any way you have to submit your demo. Like I mentioned earlier, each label kind of has their own way of doing demo submissions. Some people do email, some people do Google form, or some, you know, private link on their website. Either way, it's always best to err on the side of keeping things short and sweet and to the point. And what I mean by that is you don't want to write them a full-length novel about your resume, where you played, what labels you're signed to, etc., etc. Like, you don't want to like name drop and all that stuff, because most times, like, you have to understand, like, from a label standpoint and an A&R standpoint, they get a lot of emails, and having to sort through novel after novel after novel is just going to be way too time consuming. So the best way to do this is to just keep the message short and sweet, send them a link, and give them a little thank you. I'm going to also include a little bit of an email template, just so you can see, in my opinion, the best way to keep your messages short and sweet. Include your links and everything included, and that should be included in the link in the comments. So those are my 5 tips. Obviously, I can do way more tips, and I probably will do, you know, more videos like this, because there's just so much, you know, so many little things that you can do to kind of make your music shine and get noticed by labels and get signed, if that's what you're aiming towards. And today's sponsor is Eargasm Earplugs. I recently got sponsored by Eargasm because I am a big proponent of ear protection. I go to a lot of shows, a lot of raves, a lot of concerts, all that stuff. And I want to make sure that I don't, you know, get hearing damage. You know, that really high pitched beep that you get, you know, like the night of or the day after, like a show. You're definitely going to avoid that by wearing really good earplugs. And Eargasms are amazing. They're very portable, very comfortable. You know, the only issue you're gonna have probably is that you lose them, you know, but they always give you like another pair in the box, and they're great. You don't lose any of the crispiness in the sound and live music, and you're actually able to even talk to people like right next to you. So yeah, go to eargasm.com, use my promo code Phantom10 for a discount. and get yourself some earplugs. And like I mentioned previously, I do a live Twitch stream every Monday at 7 p.m. where I just give people feedback on the music, and there really isn't any genre restrictions. I listen to all sorts of stuff. It's mostly EDM based, but like house, breaks, UKG, drum and bass, dubstep, all that stuff. But I've also listened to a lot of other stuff: hip hop, rock, psychedelic rock, ambient stuff, synthwave, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I'll also include that link in the comments below too. That's every Monday, 7 p.m. on Twitch. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up, give me a subscribe, and follow me on all the things. I'm here on YouTube, obviously. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I'm on all the things. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and hopefully I can make a lot more like this. Thanks.